Hello, it's Wednesday, May the 12th, and we are in the prophecy of Isaiah. And today we're in the first 11 verses of chapter 17. And as we've seen in these chapters, the prophet has been dealing with nation states and kingdoms like Babylon and Assyria, Babylon way into the future, but in his own contemporary setting. Yesterday we were looking at the Moabites in chapters 15 and 16 and their pride and eventual destruction to Assyria. And today, two more kingdoms, that is Ephraim and Damascus. And Ephraim is a euphemism at this point for Israel. And Israel and Judah were small in comparison, tiny in comparison to some of the kingdoms that surrounded them, like Egypt, for example, and like Moab, which was significant in terms of its geography. And therefore, God's people were always needing security, military security, and in a world that was threatening and menacing, and neither Israel in the north nor Judah in the south had a standing, trained army. And Israel has by now fallen off the map. It collapsed in 722 to the Assyrians, and so what they attempted to do, Damascus and Ephraim formed an alliance. They were bitter enemies, but they formed an alliance. They formed an alliance against the Assyrians to thwart the imperialism of Assyria. Damascus is the capital of Syria. And is way up to the north, near Mount Hermon, and on the mainland, it is the route from Mesopotamia to Egypt. The way in which goods would flow would be through Damascus, and it was destroyed by Tiglath-Pileser, the Assyrian monarch, in 732, and then 10 years later, Ephraim would collapse. And mention of Aroer in verse 2, the cities of Aroer, which is east of the Dead Sea, and it didn't work out well. This alliance did not work out well. Instead of looking to the Lord, instead of repenting of their sins and looking to the Lord and looking to the house of David, where God had made his promise, they sought to do it by worldly terms. Notice in verses 5 and 6, "It shall be as when the reaper gathers standing grain, and his arm harvests the ears, and as when one gleans the ears of grain in the valley of Rephaim, gleanings will be left in it, as when an olive tree is beaten." And it's that beautiful, we sometimes refer to it as the doctrine of the remnant, that in Ephraim, in Israel, despite its capital, Samaria, collapsing in 722, there is a remnant according to the election of grace. There will be some who will turn to the Lord, and in the midst of catastrophe, they will emerge as the holy remnant, which is a beautiful thing to see. Well, tomorrow we'll move on to the rest of chapter 17 and into chapter 18, but have a wonderful day.